Actually, before I do that, I just wanted to point out something, and just in case it's not obvious to some people, but on the electrolytic capacitors, you got a band on one side and there's a little minus side on that, and it's usually the short lead, and the other side has nothing on it. So obviously the band side is the negative side, and if you look at the stencil and on the little pictures, it has a little tiny plus. And although some of these boards don't have a little plus, but if you also look at, there's two little bars. One is a solid bar, one's a hollow bar. The solid bar is negative. The inductor doesn't have any polarity, so it can go in either way. Same thing with the sensor, it can go in either way. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put the header pins in, and I kind of laid it there and I shoved this pair of tweezers underneath it to kind of even it out and make it as flat as possible. And just like with the IC sockets, I'm just going to do the two corners to make sure that I've got it flat basically. And then I'm going to check it. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and get these other two on this side. Just going to do one on this side. Make sure I got it flat. And it looks good, so I'll go ahead and finish these off. And yeah. I'll get those in a second, but I'm going to put a little bit of thermal compound on that, and that's going to go right there. That's what I'm going to do after I finish these. Okay, now we're going to do the little, I think these are iron ones, but is that what they are? Pretty sure that's what these are. NE1, NE4, either one. Anyways, they go inside the little tubes, little plastic tubes. Those are basically just standoffs. And just like such. These are really a kind of a pain in the butt to put on, though, I'll tell you. Mainly because they're so long that it can be a little difficult keeping them straight. Also, they like to get twisted. That's another thing I noticed too. It's just like that, it got twisted. Going to come out just a little bit, and I'm just going to solder them in just like this, and then I'll go back and look at it and probably have to push them in a little bit. they seem to be in there pretty straight. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Not too bad. But one thing you can do, if they're not as tight as you want them to be, you know, you can go ahead and solder them in like that, and then you can kind of like put a little bit of pressure on them and just kind of hit your little, you know, the solder you just put it and push it in just a hair. But this actually, if that doesn't work, another way of doing it is to take a tweezer, grab that lead and push up, pull up like I just did. It actually pulled up a little bit, and pull that one up a little bit. Pull that up, let it cool before you let go. There you go. And then it'll be a lot tighter. Yeah, that's better. Actually, I might want to do that in here just one more time. Yeah, that's much better. That worked out really well. And now we got to do the other two, and then we'll do the tubes next. And that's the last, well, next to the last thing, and then we solder this vertical board into the base. Alright, so now we're ready to put the tubes in. And basically what I did, or I'm going to do, is I go ahead and put the bag of pins, go ahead and put the pins on the tube and get them orientated right. And they're not completely straight, but all you got to do is just get a few of them started. And then, so I've got it at an kind of at an angle, as you can see, and what I'm going to do is just take a pair of tweezers and just kind of push them, the little pins, into the hole. You got to be careful doing this because you don't want to break anything, but you can see it just, it went in now. It's completely in now. So I'm going to set it down. I need something to kind of hold it. Actually, use this box. Kind of keep it flat. Hopefully. And just like you know, with the sockets and everything, I'm just going to do one pin at a time and get one of them in there started. And I'm going to go ahead and do one on the back or above it. So I'm doing 2 pins, and then I can have a look at it and make sure it's straight and flat. Sometimes they'll back out. You get one in and the rest will back out, but they look like they're pretty much seated pretty well. It's pretty centered. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of them. And also when you're doing this, if you need to, you can use this other, like this finger, and you can press down on it so it gets where you want it. You know what I forgot to do? Well, I forgot to do one thing before this, so I'm gonna have to take this tube out, but it should be okay. They should be straight for that. But before I go any further, I wanna put the LEDs in before I go any further. That's what I should have done. So the little LEDs, they need to go in. Well, they don't have to, because like you can still get to it, but I think it's easier to go ahead and get the LEDs in before you put the pins in. But you saw how I put the put that in there, so you just do the rest of them after that. But I'm going to go ahead and put these LEDs in first before I finish up.